Welcome to the Bad Girls on Business, the podcast that makes business more fun so you want to do more of it. Here are your hostesses with the mostesses, Jenny Bellinger, Virginia Muskis, and Michelle Nedelec.
Hey, welcome back to an amazing episode of the Bad Girls on Business. We're the only podcast in the industry that is safe, sane, and consensual. The bad girls will be as nice, naughty, or kinky as our guests require, and we'll even give them a safe word. It's hamburger. It's meatloaf. See, I am like so blunt today. We're leaving this as it is.
Leave it.
Our safe word is meatloaf because we would do anything for business, but we won't do that. Apparently, I am the very forgetful Virginia Muskis, your referral alchemist, helping you turn your network into gold. And today I am here with
Jenny Bellinger, your direct sales dom, helping you whip your business into shape. And
I'm Michelle Nedelec, your mistress in business, helping you get it up and keep it up. And of course, we're talking about revenue and profit.
Thank you, ladies. We are here today with Eugenia Oganova. She is a business strategist, a personal transformation expert, and a quantum messaging energetics coach with over 20 years of experience. She is a self-made millionaire and a best-selling author of 3 books. She's been featured in over 100 networks and publications, and she specializes in helping spiritual coaches and healers create consistent $10,000 months, sustainably scaling past 6 figures without forcing themselves to work harder by weaving masculine business strategies to feminine quantum energetics and customizing with their unique soul design and mission. She is not your typical business coach. She is clairvoyant and uses her extraordinary abilities to support her clients in addition to building solid business strategies. Eugenia, we are so glad that you found us and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here, girls. I'm excited for this conversation.
So the first thing we like to start off with is what do you want our listeners to know about you and your business?
Well, that's a kind of a large question. I think what I would say the main thing I'd like you to know is that if you're looking for understanding yourself and then running your business the way that you're meant to show up in the world so that you are actually the leader from the standpoint of your energy correctly, if you want your business to fit you and not feel like you're doing something that more like a cookie cutter strategy that you learn somewhere, but just so your life and your business is sort of wired together, and you want to kind of be more yourself within your business, then I'm your person, because this is literally what I do. I help people figure out who they are more. And obviously you already know who you are to some extent, but to shed all the layers of conditioning and imprinting and all the crap that you might have put on top of yourself that is not really you, so that underneath it, the real you can come out and all the gifts and amazing superpowers. And that way you're actually living your soul design. And that creates incredible multi-dimensional experience. This is where life becomes very bright. This is where you're actually feeling like you are fully in whatever it is you're doing, not just kind of like, okay, I'm doing it because I think I have to, or I should, or well, this is the appropriate strategy, but you're doing it because it feels awesome, because you are in it, because you're excited, because you feel very much like a leader of your own life. So that's what I do. And I'm clairvoyant, which means I see timelines and possibilities and different things in energy fields. So I help my clients kind of shortcut through the quantum field to whatever that next level is for them. So they don't have to go for years and years and years, but can do it in a short period of time.
So I got to know, how did you discover this clairvoyance? Where is it something you always had? Did you start having it and develop it? Tell us about this.
I was born clairvoyant and I always was conscious. I have never fallen asleep like most people. So when people are born as a baby, you're not conscious. You're going to grow and then eventually learn something and become sort of a more of a person, and some things kind of download and you maybe understand reality. For me, I was born without losing the memory. So being in like 2-year-old body and looking at people and understanding their patterns and, you know, what's going on and not able to explain it, that was difficult. By the time I was 2, I was already trying to tell people people some things. And it was hard because people were still looking at me, of course, as a baby, but it already started that they started to see like, oh, she knows things. Like she pointed at that and or said no on that. And then I did this and it actually worked. So it kind of became the thing. Like I started to draw pictures to try to explain what it was. By the time I was 3.5, I believe, I was trying to explain to my father something about my non-physical friend from another dimension that I've been interacting with forever. And I was standing in the doorway and my friend was standing next to me, but my father was saying pretty much, there's a doorway, there's you. And it took a while for me to understand that, okay, he sees the doorway, he sees me, he does not see my friend. So other people only see things I can bump into, but the things that I can't bump into, which are just as real to me, my entire, being, but they actually don't exist for other people. So it's like 99% of what is out there, people don't see. So that was like 3.5. And then by the time I was 14, I already had practice with clients. And then I just been working my whole life serving people from that angle.
Wowzers. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think you just blew Jenny's brain.
It's like mic drop. All of our mics dropped, and therefore you can't hear us asking any questions. No, seriously. Oh, okay. So let's move forward to that because, well, actually, it was really funny. What I completely wanted to ask you was like, who's in the room with you? Like, who else is in the room with you?
As in, like. Currently, where there are three different.
It's kind of an obnoxious question, but I was like, that's like the first question that when you were talking about that was like, who else is in the room with her?
Yeah, and I think that that's also a lot of people have so many misconceptions about that. Like they think, oh, it's dead people, like somebody like your, relative or something, or they think it's pets, or they think like it's literally some specific being that is like right there. Multidimensional means that there's different perceptions of reality and different dimensions. So we are in a third dimension. There are some people in this dimension that's true that we can't see if they, let's say, passed over to the other side, like my grandmother shows up sometimes. But a lot of the beings I work with are multidimensional, so they wouldn't even look like people. They would look like glowing orbs or something like that to you. I have one that looks like a panther. So these beings are from different dimensions. And over here, when you have a multidimensional being showing up in the 3D, it would show up like a teeny little spark or sometimes an energy sphere, but not necessarily as like a person. So it's not like there's somebody standing next to me. It's more like my mind is consciously interconnected. I have 28 channels in my brain, the way that it's wired. Being neurotypical, that kind of creates this environment, let's just say, in my body that allows me to have access to 28 different things at the same time that are multidimensional while I'm paying attention to this reality. So this created like lots of fun experiences in childhood, and learning to drive was a trip.
Yeah. 28. How did you discover that there are 28?
I couldn't do 29.
Good answer.
Fair. Totally fair. Oh my gosh.
I'm going to bring this kind of little bit down to earth-ish, if you've gone and put it that way.
Of course.
It might be the wrong metaphor for down or up or sideways. But when you're working with people and you're going, hey, you need to be self-aware in things, I have noticed in my experience that things that I need to work on, I'm not necessarily self-aware of, that I actually prefer to be able to go to somebody like you and go, hey, I'm clearly blocking what it is that I should be, quote unquote, should be working on in order to be able to get through the thing the fastest. Is there typically, in your experience, reasons why people block out the next biggest thing that would make the most amount of sense to work on?
Absolutely. And that main reason is we stick into our identity components that are not us, and then we can't see them because we think they are us. So like, let's say if somebody was programmed with a particular belief when they were children, and as a child, that person grows up now, they are adult, they running on that belief, but they're not seeing it as a belief, as a separate thing, like this is my behavior that, oh, I don't like it, I need to change. They see it more like, well, this is how I am. So then when the question comes as to, okay, what do I do in order to, let's say, leap my business ahead? I know that I need to show up differently. Well, I'm showing up as me, so I don't know what else I can do. And this is where somebody like me could look at their soul design and start kind of decoding, like, okay, well, this thing you think is you is actually not you. So let's, first of all, separate that out of your identity. And now that it is something you can look at and observe because you are not it, now let's figure out, do you still want it? And what happens if you don't apply it onto your business? And then what happens? So a lot of this work is actually becoming more authentically yourself, so that incredible, powerful being that you are can come out. Because we're all born very much connected, very much powerful, very much incredible and unique, and we are each one-time cosmic event. But we forget that. Well, most people do. And this is why when, let's say, you try to see your blind spots, you can't, because they are literally within your identity, hidden as, well, those are just me. Those are just components of me.
Right. So when you look at somebody, does it look like that 4-layered chess game where they're
Like
you're playing up and
like,
down and
what is it called? Yeah, the like in Star Trek, the multidimensional chess. Somebody just said it in another podcast. Literally, she just said that very thing. She's like, "Oh, you must be very good at playing that kind of chess." Well, yes, kind of, because I see everything in so many dimensions at once. Like, I'm the queen of connecting the unconnectable dots. So people come to me and they say, I got this going on, I got this going on, I got this going on. And I want to do, let's say, the soul design VIP day and really dive in and understand myself. Great. We do that. And afterwards she comes out with like, oh my God, like I was looking at these 3 things and really those are not even the things. Like the things are something completely different, and these are the dots that now got connected. And now I know where I need to go with my business, when before I was thinking, oh, I need to create like another program or hire a coach, support coach. And now it's like, oh, I need to do it this way and that way. And generally, like when I work with people, I don't work with somebody who like needs to be convinced that this is good or needed or like that. That's not my thing. I work with somebody who's already on a journey, who's already been doing it, who gets that. Yes, of course, everything is interconnected and somehow there's all the layers to us, and they, let's say, humble enough and conscious enough to know that there's some layers they don't know. So that's like a prerequisite. And usually they are somewhat established in what they're doing in their business. So it's not like they totally like need to understand how to make a sales page or opt-in. Like they get all this stuff, and they're usually successful somewhere close to 6 figures, some a little under, some even over. Like I have some that are 7 figures, but they want to go to the next level with more ease. They want to go to the next level with more of experience of flow and this momentum that just kind of like life goes that way, instead of, let me create a 20-step funnel and do my nurture sequence and everything. And I mean, all this stuff, of course, is needed in business, but that's the masculine side. So the quantum feminine side is all the rest. And we are the navigating factor, and most people navigating from their heads. Like they've been programmed with the pros and cons and all that stuff that, mentally is figured out. When in reality, we each have a very different assemblage point. And from that point, we meant to make decisions. So our navigation principle is actually energetically encoded in the body, and it's never in the head. If it could be in the head, it would be in the pineal gland or pituitary gland, definitely still not in the brain. So most human beings, like 99%, it's not in the head. So if you don't know the place from which you meant to make decisions, you're going to try to make them from the mental analyzing and thinking and figuring out like this is the term that most people use, right? Let me figure it out. And to me, as soon as the person's speaking like this, I already notice like, okay, you're not choosing from the correct place. You're choosing from the location that you think you should be choosing because you're scared to really dive into who you are. And it's kind of scary to just trust something within us, because it feels at the beginning, if the person is disconnected, like you're trusting something that's not you, And most people in at least English speaking countries kind of mutate trust into, it means it will not hurt me. It means I will get what I want. Like if I trust you, that means that. When actually that's kind of an incorrect way from the multidimensional perspective on trust. Trust is more like a connection that's opened, and there is some sort of a back and forth going on. So if you are trusting something that you also see as yourself, that's the key, expanding your identity to incorporate you and the other thing you're trusting, or even the person. as an overlay. Then you are really more like playing a game within your own life, and it becomes fun instead of, oh, I trust it will work out. Because I mean, that's like jumping off the cliff without a parachute, and I'm not a fan of that. I believe that if you jump off the cliff, you should either have wings, which is what I help my clients have, so you can fly, or at least have a parachute if you don't know what you're doing. But this whole idea like, oh, if you're an entrepreneur, you have to risk all the time and whatever. Well, that's why so many people don't get anywhere, because they risk kind of randomly. And in my understanding, especially if I like do this event with someone, when we dig into their soul design in every little detail, you exactly see where the areas of influence are, where you need to put your effort. That's called profit potential energetically. So there's certain gifts that we're born that are with us, like for us. And then there's certain gifts that are in us that are for others. Some gifts can make you a lot of money, like they are wealth potential. Some gifts are not. And when people don't know the difference, and most people don't, they end up putting effort into something that might never actually be financially rewarding. It could be totally making you famous, but not necessarily bring you income. So understanding which parts are the ones that you need to weave into your marketing and your business emphasis point in order to bring in wealth. So you're not chasing clients, but that they come to you and they actually want to work with you because you're compelling them with the vortex that you have created. That's very different. And that's based on a correct risk. And in my book, I wouldn't even call it a risk, because it's just, I can see why you need to go from here to here. But from the inside of that person, it might still feel like a risk because it's new. But at least you're risking, in quotes, correctly, like in the right direction, not just jumping off the cliff and hoping it will work out.
So
Absolutely. So when you're working with somebody, do you go into a session with them and kind of prep yourself to do the thing, or is it more kind of in the moment and you're just constantly seeing things?
Well, it depends on the contract. To answer this second part, yes, I am constantly seeing things, but that's just like, it makes really fun going to the grocery store. That's why I don't do shopping, because I just can't stand it. To be next to somebody in a line and see their whole life, and that they just like, no, thank you. But as far as how my clients work with me, if we're doing the Soul Design VIP day, that's a 5-hour dive in. So for 5 hours, all I do is decode the person. So that's like your whole life, your life cycles, understanding where you are, what you're doing, what's your soul contract, what you're meant to do, where is the emphasis, what's the profit potential, what is genetically encoded as your personal evolution, what needs to show up in your leadership for you to actually be productive and beneficial for the planet and for your business and for your life in general, and so on. So that's in itself like a deep dive. And then if the person wants me to help them integrate that into their business, because some people, like if somebody's already at 8 figures, they get it. Like once I gave them this download, they're like, okay, I got it. I'm going to tweak this. I'll be back for a next one, in a year. Right now, I'm just going to go in. That's fine. And some people who are like, let's say they're under 6 figures, and all of this is like, whoa, but what do I do with this now? Like, I kind of get it. Like, I need to create a program in this direction, or I need to modify this, but I'm not sure. Great. This is where my, business strategist marketing coach part comes in. And that's where we, for the next 3-4 months, implement that. So that would be like having appointments where on every appointment, we dig into a specific thing that we have decided we're going to implement. Like, let's say, creating a program or adjusting marketing or changing their website, all to match their soul design and to match that ease. So then, of course, whatever comes up, if they bringing something up and they having like an issue that, oh, I don't know, this is really hard, or this feels really crazy, or can I really do it? So like self-worth issues, self-love issues, sovereignty issues, like feeling boundary messiness, or authority issues, like, can I, capacity issues, mastery issues, am I really in control, or who's in control? All this stuff comes up as we're implementing. So that's what I then work with.
Love it. So are the things that come up? Sorry,
Shell, you're so on
I
it
got
today.
way more questions than you got time to think.
You go,
about,
girl.
Eugenia.
I'm gonna sit back and enjoy the ride today.
Right. So when things come up, are they kind of generalizations like, hey, you should have more fun in your life? Or is it you need to name your program this, and this is what it's all about?
It's
kind of thing,
very
like,
unique and extremely tailored to the person. It would be more like, okay, in this specific area, you were thinking that you need to push harder. What you actually need to do is watch for this. And when this happens, do that. And if this doesn't happen, do that. And when this energy happens, can you recognize it in your body? Okay, you can. So you got that experience. Great. Now let's connect this to this specific event. Now go do it. And then when you get that specific experience, you know you in the right path. It's extremely tailored. Every person is unique. There's over 1,000 that I've so far seen different variations on the design. So it's not like something generic. It's not, relax more or something. It's specific. Like, for example, somebody might think that, like, let's say, I know that I need to do lists. When I make lists, I feel safe. So they already figured that out about themselves. They come to me and they say, okay, I'm doing this list and stuff, but I'm so stressed. And you're telling me that the lists are actually a good thing. And I would say, yes. Let's say for this design, yes, doing lists like planning is a good thing, but your approach to it is not. And let's say the approach should be not, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But in your design, it's programmed that you have to tune in to a specific assemblage point in your body and then pick from the list the thing that right now is the most beneficial to do. That way you will get your entire list, but from the mental standpoint, random order, which is not actually random, but your body and that assemblage point will tell you the order. And that same person who thought that she has to do lists and was stressed suddenly realizes that, okay, I was working so I can earn resting instead of actually resting and then integrating work into it. There's some designs that are meant to be on all the time, like I'm an Energizer bunny, so I'm on all the time. And in my design, I have the on and then retreat, but still on. So I'm actually a super introverted person, but I come out, I do what I do and then go in and I still do something. There's some people who are completely not like that. They don't have that consistent inflow. And what they have to do is actually have long periods of spaciousness. And if they don't have that, they will burn out. So a lot of times people come to me because they say like, okay, I've burned out before when I expanded my business. And now I'm at the place where everything is working, it's great. And I start to feel like, okay, it's time to go for, let's say, to 500,000 mark or further. And I'm afraid I'm going to burn out again and I don't want to. And I want to understand how does this work so that I don't. And does it mean I have to hire team like, 20 people and I don't want to have 20 people working for me. And that's typical misconception when people think they have to hire a huge team. And for some designs, it's true, they do need a lot of help, but not for everybody. A lot of people, like I only have one and it's just fine and 2 that I contract to. So it depends on how you're wired. So we look at, okay, how can you scale and not burn out, utilizing all these correct things? So a lot of times it's actually shedding instead of adding. So it's simplifying. I've never seen anything more complicated. It's always the other way. It's always like, okay, let's take this out. Let's take you out of that project. Let's readjust where your profit potential is. And that's where you're going to put your energy and everything else goes on evergreen. And like readjust, especially if somebody's already like successful enough, how many courses and mini projects and opt-ins you will have, right? Tons. So we just readjust it all to lead somewhere. And now we know where, because in your design, we can see what's the main direction point where this train needs to go to.
No, you keep pausing, so I'm going to keep going.
No, I am. I was waiting on you, Michelle. So, because I want to ask this one, something that Eugenia brought up in the package that she sent over was the concept of wealth energetics, which is along the line of what you were talking about, creating your business and creating your work from a place of trusting your own knowing, trusting that, and coming at that like from a place of ease. And I loved what you said about like some people are working to earn their rest when you could just be resting and getting the work done. And I was like, well, that sounds really juicy. So I'm assuming that's kind of part of wealth energetics, right?
Yes. And wealth energetics also, since I utilize the energy system, chakra layers and all that, I used to have a school and teach that for 10 years. So that stuff is also part of what I do. So I would literally tell somebody, okay, there was a past life that's connected to the specific chakra that's blocking this thing. And I sometimes tell them the little story I see from the life. They usually go like, oh my God, this is the current story, or this is something that's been playing, or this totally describes my relationship with this, business partner now. Wow. And then we clean it out. And now they are able to run the energy there differently. So wealth energetics is actually a lot of it is about allowing your wealth container the capacity to receive, to expand. And nobody's born with a wealth container that's shrunken. We shrink it over our own programming, conditioning, imprinting, and karmic overlays. So when you release things, you expand it. So imagine, like, let's say you say, okay, I'm going to do this launch, and my plan is 200,000 launch. That's what I want. But your wealth container is like a Chinese teacup. And you're saying, okay, I don't know if this course is that great. I think I'm good, but I don't know if my clients are going to get like great enough result without the extra support coach. So I had it on the back of my mind, but I think I can do with one support coach. I don't think I want to hire the second one, and so on. Like there's all this story going on in the background. That's shrinking the wealth container. So now that launch, even if all the words right and the marketing is perfect and the program itself is probably great, but the result is not going to be 200,000. But if that same person adjusts, like, okay, who am I really? Why am I doing this? Am I just doing this for money? Like, that's not the people I work with. I work with the people who want to serve. Like, service is like super high value for me. So you want to serve. You want to somehow impact the consciousness of human collective. You want to somehow advance people. You want to somehow facilitate ease in their business or whatever coach type you're in, whatever you're doing. But there is a service component. It's not selfish. When you do that, then you have the full right to say, what is in it for me? Mm-hmm. But when somebody starts from that never works out, because then all the issues come up about whatever else that's been subconsciously blocking. And so all of that is wealth energetics. That's literally like, for example, when somebody does the video, one of the things I do with my clients is, if they're doing the promotional material through video, if they show up and do presentations, I always say, okay, do one, show me, because I want to see where are you, what are you doing? And you can tell, well, at least I can tell, they can tell too, when, oh, this was a good one and this kind of didn't work out, but they don't know why. And I would look at it and say, okay, right here, you were in this thing energetically, like this is why it worked. And yeah, but I messed up. I didn't say everything I wanted. Yeah, but you signed a client from that video because you were in the right place, even though you messed up, even though your hair was a mess, or you happened to be on a walk in a park when you decided you just had to say that. But that worked. And this thing where you were all orderly and prepped and everything, and maybe even had a teleprompter, looks dead, and it didn't work. And this is why it didn't work. So I literally like go with my clients through like, okay, imagine your assemblage point. So let's say for somebody, it could be in their hips. So now bring your energy there. And now see if you can do the video holding with part of your awareness, like 5% of your awareness on your anchor point. Or let's say for somebody, it could be behind them or whatever, like it depends. I explained their energetics. So now when they're utilizing the wealth energetics of their own field, of their own design correctly, they have much better result. Not only that it's easier and it feels more fun, and they finally like having this relief of, oh, thank God, I don't have to like do things I thought I had to. I can just actually be myself and just show up and say stuff. You know, there's some strategy. Of course, you have to remember how to weave like your expertise, how to weave different components of whatever your offer is, how to seed it correctly. But that's anybody can learn. It's a skill. But you can't learn you just have to be you. And most of people, especially spiritual people, what I find is that they are awesome at what they do. They incredible, like their clients practically writing them love notes. But when they shift into business side, it's almost like they become a good schoolgirl or a rebel that I don't want to do it. Either one of those identities, they still repelling the business side because it doesn't fit with the, you know, beautiful frequency flow thingy that they were having on the spiritual side. So what I do is I kind of like translate the masculine business side into the speak that is more fit-inable with these kinds of people. And then because of that, it's like, oh, so that's what opt-in is. Like, oh, that's how I do launch. Like, that's the point of launch, not the sequence and the this and the that, but, oh, I create a vortex and this is what I like. It totally makes sense now. So then when you're doing the tasks, you're not doing them from just kind of a dead standpoint of kind of a dry masculine electric imprint of this is my strategy. You know, I was told by my coach to do this, but instead you're doing it kind of more like it's juicy, it's fun, it's yummy, and you want to.
I like
And
it.
I always say, like, if you doing what you don't love, it will not work, even if you're doing all the right things. So doing right things is not a guarantee of success. The only guarantee of success is you. In fact, you can do all the wrong things and still succeed if you're being you, but you can definitely not succeed if you're doing something from not being yourself. So if you're being yourself and you have the correct strategy that's matching your design, so you're not doing 200 different things, but you're doing only one or two that actually work for you, you can't fail. It's just automatically you're going to get there. And that's why a lot of times people shortcut the time. Like I had literally just like my recent client, she came to me, she didn't even have a business. She has like 20 years of experience doing this incredible coaching thing, but for someone else. And she's like, okay, I'm ready to step in and do it my own thing, but I have no idea how, and all this insecurity stuff about it, whatever. And it's like, but you're totally secure over there when you do it for the other person. So what's up here? So we had to clean up all these layers, construct the methodology, figure out her superpowers, figure out how to add that into the marketing, all through her soul design. And then within 2 months, she signed her first $15,000 client. Like, that's what I mean by showing up in the right energy. And most of my clients, that's what they do. They're like 6,000, 7,000, 10,000 programs. That's what they sign their clients at. So it's not like, oh, you do like $100 sessions and then you have to do $500 sessions and then you have to do $1,000 course. No, you just have to understand who you are. And if you do, and if you really own it, and if you construct the methodology and the offer, the container that's matching the value, because I'm all about that integrity thing. So it's not like, let's do a $500 offer, put a zero on it and call it 5,000. No, it's you actually have to make a $5,000 program that is worth that. But let's say you do. And when you do, then selling it becomes very easy because if you're being yourself, it naturally works.
Love it. So is there kind of elements to this wealth energetics, things that people can look at and go kind of, I feel on track here, I feel off track there?
Well, every person is different, but I mean, in my transcension method, the main 4 components would be to understand your love capacity. Like, are you loving yourself? Are you accepting yourself? Or are you constantly berating yourself in your head and mean to yourself? That's like really basic translation of this area. Then sovereignty, like, are you being a sovereign individual? Like, you're uniquely you, or are you copycatting somebody or wearing a mask or pretending, thinking that that's somehow better than the real you? Then it's authority. So are you being your higher self, your leadership, or are you being your lower self, your insecurity voices? Most people are a lot in reaction to life. So that's not being your own authority. When you're in your own authority, you're in response to life, conscious response. You have freedom of free will. You have choice. You don't have a choice if you're not in your authority. Somebody else has a choice over you. So, and the fourth part is mastery. So that would be, are you actually living your life consistently? You know, like, are you only showing up like really on top of things in your business, but then your life is a mess? Or like, you're really great with, let's say, your kid, but your business is a mess. Like, it has to be that whoever you are and whatever you're trying to apply into your life is consistent in all the areas. That's the only way it's going to upgrade identity. Otherwise, it's just going to upgrade behavior, and behaviors don't stick. They go right back to the other habitual behaviors that you're more used to as soon as difficult things show up. So you actually have to upgrade the identity, which means masterfully applying it onto your whole life. So that's a very simple description as to how somebody can just test themselves. Like, how am I doing in these basic 4 areas?
Well, I was going to say, I think given all of that information, was good. And I love the client story that you shared there. The sharing of, within 60 days had gotten their first $15,000 client. That's huge. But I think at this point we want to shift over because we have some questions that we like to ask all of our guests. This is our rapid fire questions, and Michelle typically has those questions, and we'll ask them of you now.
We really do. We really do need the naughty question.
But Virginia, then that would involve more editing.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I'll just say it. Michelle, what are the naughty questions?
Gina, I'm going to ask you some naughty questions, and feel free to ask for definitions if you need some help with this, because we are doing nice. Remember. Awesome. So when it comes to marketing, do you prefer domination or seduction?
Seduction.
Nice. When it comes to networking, would you say you're an exhibitionist or a voyeur?
I don't know what that means.
So exhibitionist, well, do you want to do the definitions, Virginia? I don't want to screw it up.
So exhibitionists are the folks that are in a networking room and they're out there talking to everybody and they're loud and they're like, see me, see me. And the voyeurs are kind of standing on the sidelines, just kind of watching.
Oh,
what's
voyeur,
going on.
definitely
Yeah.
voyeur.
Awesome. When it comes to leadership within your business, do you prefer to be a lady dom or a power sub?
Huh?
So do you okay. Boy, these are concepts here. So like a dominant is someone who takes charge of creating an entire experience for others. A submissive is the one that sets boundaries but allows others to create an experience. So in business, do you prefer creating the experience, or do you prefer the one defining
creating the experience and then the client goes through it?
Yeah.
Very cool. When it comes to team, do you prefer to be married or have mistresses? Meaning, do you have employees or do you prefer to have contractors?
Contractors only.
Mistresses, awesome. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, would you say you're into monogamy or polyamory? Meaning one and one only business or many businesses?
That's a complicated one because I've had so many businesses in my life, but they all had the same line of my soul contract. So I guess I would have to answer one, even though it has many facets.
Nice. Well done. Congratulations. You survived our questions.
Yeah, I know. And what's really good is we're never really sure that people are actually answering the questions as we intend because we don't often define them for people.
Right?
So that was good. We got accurate answers, which is awesome.
Very good. Absolutely.
Back to you, Jenny.
Yes. So, Eugenia, thank you so much for your time, your expertise, and generosity of sharing your experience and what you have to offer with the world. Thank you so much for being here with us. We really appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was a really unusual conversation.
Yes, it is. And you know what? Before we go, Jenny, we did forget to ask Eugenia.
Okay.
You do have something free, a gift for the listener that they can find in the show notes. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you have for them?
Well, I don't remember what I have that I gave
All right,
you.
I'll tell you what it is. So, Eugenia. You have a free webinar called How Coaches Get to Sustainable 10K Months from Their Soul Work. You want to talk a little bit about that webinar?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is for people that are maybe at the place where they have a business, but it's not at six figures yet. And they are trying to figure out how to go to that next level in a correct way, utilizing a lot of the components and energetics that I was talking about here. So in that webinar, I describe a little bit more the process of how I do it. And there are a lot of examples too that you can see, because I have so many people who came to me with doing appointments for, $200, $100, $500, and then started to sell $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 programs after just 4 months of working with me, or less in some cases. So that's a different technique that's my own that explained in there. This is something that does not require constant lunches or a huge email list or all of that. It's all about essentially you becoming more you. And that's actually kind of my motto, is that, like, if you're ever going to hire a coach, hire somebody who's going to help you be more you, not somebody who's going to tell you how to do something based on their technique that works awesomely for them, but you have no idea if it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
So what I do is exactly that. I help each of my clients in a very, very highly customized way figure out how to be themselves more so that they can then fully utilize their energetics and attract wealth to whatever is within their soul design. And that's why these amazing stories are there, because it actually works when you're shortcutting it. You're quantum leaping to the correct space of yourself in the upgraded version. So in that webinar, you're just going to get a lot of the steps and explanations. Also on my website, transcensiongate.com, there are programs and many courses. There's a quantum evolution course. There's a quantum impact course that I'm going to be teaching in next year to 2023. And there's also Soul Design itself, the VIP day I was mentioning here a couple of times, that you can read more about it and see if this is for you. Because if you are already at the level where, let's say, you have your business at around 6 figures or more, and you're like, everything I'm saying, you're like, oh my God, this is like, I'm so curious how this works, then check out the VIP day, because that's going to really help you to have this dive in and kind of pull your whole life into different understandings of like your life cycles. Where are you? Why things are happening the way they're happening? Where are you going? What superpowers you have? What superpowers will open up? When they're going to open up? We literally look at the timeline and the specific dates on your timeline when something happens. We look at where is your profit potential. We look at what is the drive that you need to be focusing on, how you're meant to make decisions. What is your navigation? What is the inner assemblage point from which you need to show up to the world, and all of that. So that's in the VIP Soul Design session. You can call it. It's 5 hours, so I don't know what to call it. I call it a day.
No, I get it. Absolutely. So, listener, you are probably wondering, oh my gosh, so much to remember. Here's the thing. You don't have to worry about remembering it, because you can find all of Eugenia's links that she just mentioned in the show notes. So if you've never listened to a podcast before, or maybe this is the first time you've listened to our podcast, the way you're going to get to the show notes is grab your phone, as long as you're not driving, click on today's episode, click on See More, and you will see all of Eugenia's links. You can connect with her on all the socials, grab that wonderful free gift. Go check out that webinar to get sustainable 10K months to hit that 6-figure realm and be able to connect with Eugenia moving forward. So thank you again, Eugenia. We appreciate you being here, your time, your generosity. Thank you so very much. And listener, make sure you connect with the Bad Girls on Business at badgirlsonbusiness.com. Check out each of our bios, because we do have a gift for you from each of us. And don't forget the Easter egg. We have a fun little Easter egg hidden somewhere on the website with an extra special gift for you as well. So stay tuned, because there's another Bad Girls episode on its way.
Thank you for listening to the Bad Girls on Business podcast. Don't forget to check the show notes for any links mentioned in this episode and for additional contact information about the guest or our hostesses. If this show got you going, we'd love to hear about it when you subscribe, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Can't get enough of the direct sales dom, the referral diva, or your mistress in business? The Bad Girls have hidden their gift for you at badgirlsonbusiness.com. When you find the Easter egg, use the password BGOB to unlock your treasure chest of goodies.